Hi, it's Matt with State of Flex here with another 52-week movie challenge from Everyone's a Critic. We are on week 47. Challenge is a film about a famous person. Movie I chose, She Said. Year released 2022. Aspect ratio 1851. Runtime 2 hours and 9 minutes. Genre drama. Rated R. Starring Carey Mulligan, Zoe Kazan, Patricia Clarkson, Andre Brower, Jennifer Ill. Directed by Maria Schrader. Produced by Universal Pictures, written by Rebecca Lankowitz, based on the New York Times story by Jodi Kantor and Megan Twohey. Music by Nicholas Brittal. Awards received. We haven't quite got there yet. This is still a big award season contender, and I think its best shot would be for screenplay and the two primary actresses. If I were a betting man, Zoe Kazan especially. I'll touch on that moment. Why did I choose this particular film? I've been dying to see this movie. This is one of the ones I've been most excited for. I've always had interest in journalistic themed films, and as a fan of independent film and whatnot, Harvey Weinstein's name is cemented in the fabric of what indie film was of the 80s, 90s, and 2000s. And so to see this movie about his great downfall was compelling to me from the get-go. So that's why I chose this. Had I seen this movie before? Nope, came out this week. Would I recommend this film? Why or why not? This movie is fantastic. It is so darn good. It is a slow burn of a movie in the same vein as Spotlight or All the President's Men before it. And along those lines, it keeps good company with them. In that this is a slow burn, character-driven story. You learn just as much about these characters and how they operate and stuff as you do about the story that they're trying to get out there. The windows into their personal life, juggling motherhood for these two women, was particularly of interest to me. And Carey Mulligan has a spectacular performance, and I feel like she's going to get more of the praise of the two in that she has the big dramatic outburst moments, the calm, collected, cool moments where she gets to sit down against the face of evil and whatnot, or snap at somebody who's being particularly sexist and whatnot. But Zoe Kazan's performance was the one that impressed me more. Hers is pure subtlety at its finest. And Zoe Kazan has always been an actress that I've really quite liked, be it in sort of small comedies like What If, or sort of the dramedy of The Big Sick, or more sort of sci-fi drama as you get in Your Eyes. She's always been a highlight of any movie she is in, and by far she is the reason to watch this movie. She is so incredibly good. And the way that they topple Weinstein is you are given the facts in small little bursts. You're given this insanely compelling opening scene set in 1992. And then slowly throughout the course of the film, it peels back the layers of the onion of how deep his disgusting behavior went, and how the system was sort of in place to enable him for as long as it did. This grants insight into that in ways that we had not been privy to before. And that's something that I found of incredible interest. Especially as somebody who read that article the day that it dropped. I was gobsmacked. I was at work when that dropped, and I remember sitting at the work computer and just reading this thing. And the fact that this movie gets like some of the actual people involved. You hear Gwyneth Paltrow's voice, and it's actually Gwyneth. Ashley Judd has a role in this movie as herself. I kind of wish they were able to grapple more of the accusers into the film, because like having Rose McGowan there, but just listening to the sound alike of her didn't really quite work for me because I'm very familiar with her voice. The dude that they have doing Harvey is spectacular. His voice, I would not be surprised if we found out that that is just like actual audio of Harvey Weinstein at some point, because it sounds just absolutely like him. But anyway, if you're interested in journalism, films, or how a story breaks, investigative reporting, all that stuff, this is a fantastic film to watch with that. It's always and forever going to be compared to All the President's Men, or probably more likely the recent Oscar Best Picture winner Spotlight. And you're gonna want the want would be to compare it to them. Is it better and whatnot? It's a different story, and it's got different themes. What matters is that I watch this movie, and when the triumphant moments happen, as infrequently as they do, because everything seems stacked against the story coming out, once they start happening and the dominoes start toppling, I was so emotionally invested, I started like tearing up. There's multiple moments within this film where especially Zoe Kazan's performance got me to choke up and feel the weight of everything and the catharsis of taking this man down. Alright, moving on. Which character are you most able to identify with or connect with, and in what way? The film is entirely framed around Jodie and Megan, and Jodie Cantor's character, because of Kazan's performance, I just kind of like lingered at her, or lingered with her a little more strongly, but Carey Mulligan's character is also fantastic. Megan Twohey is an inspiration, and if half of this movie is to be believed, which I believe it is, she is like a powerhouse of a rock star. I also liked the head of the New York Times, their boss, the one that they answer to, played by Andre Braugher, and he is so good. I've seen him in multiple things before, and he's always been a gifted actor, and one that I really quite like. But I liked the authority of command that this character just had, of not wanting to deal with Harvey's bullshit and calling him out on it. The zero patience attitude, while also conducting himself incredibly professionally, and never raising his voice, never snapping, never being in any way retaliatory. Like, he was just great in every scene that he is in. And then also the accusers. This is a triumph for Ashley Judd. Not only did she help to break this story and was able to reclaim some of what harmed her for so incredibly long, she gets to perform in this and expand that outward in a way that she is most comfortable doing, which is being in front of a camera and expelling a performance. And here she gets to relive, which had to be some of the like most traumatic moments of her life, in a way that is able to be therapeutic in a sense. I have to believe that, and she's great in her scenes, and she has an authenticity because it's genuinely authentic. And also, Jennifer Eel is so incredibly good in her scenes. I also wouldn't be surprised if she maybe picked up a nomination, because she is that good. The one thing I do want to say that I was also really impressed with, that I meant to mention beforehand, is even though this is framed around a person who's committing vicious sexual acts repeatedly and horrifically, the film wisely chooses not to show it. Just hearing these stories, as you read them, if you did read the newsprint, is traumatic enough. There was no need to show us anything like that. And I was glad that this film didn't. It works strong because what matters is the voice and giving power to that voice for coming forward. You don't need to see it in order to feel it. And granting power to that voice and making the voice take control of the film and the narrative rather than placing any visual thing to help amplify or tell the story was a compelling and wise choice, and one that I have to commend Maria Schrader for doing. In lesser hands, they would have shown dramatic depictions of the rapes or the assaults or attempted sexualization of these women, and that just simply doesn't happen, and I'm kind of grateful for that. Alright, moving on. Best line or most memorable quote. Nothing that like springs to mind outside of the exchange that Carey Mulligan's character has in the bar. Megan Twohey gets hit on, and she just is trying to focus on the story, and she continues getting hit on, and her lash is something that'll be ingrained in me throughout the rest of my 2022 film experience. It's one of the highlights of the year, sadly. Sadly, because of what happens in that scene and people's reaction to it. Also, the moment that one of the people agrees to validate the story and put their name to it. It's not the line of dialogue or anything like that. It is purely a moment of performance from Zoe Kazan that just, even thinking about it now, gets me to like choke up. It is so powerful. Were you surprised by the ending? What would you do differently? I was not surprised by the ending because I've read this article and I know kind of what happened in toppling Weinstein. What would I have done differently? I don't know that I would have done anything differently. I think they do a great job with it. You see the words she said sprung all over the screen repeatedly in different languages. And at first I thought they were names, because some of them were different languages. I thought they were names of people who accused, and I was like, I thought for a second that would have been a really interesting thing to do, is put the names of all these people. But that's also traumatizing to the people. Like, what if they didn't want their name included in that, but are we just going to include it because it's part of this larger story? So that would be my one inclusion that I would have done. However, totally get why they didn't do it, and even if I were to have done it, if I were helming this film, I would have made sure that everybody was comfortable, and if somebody didn't want to do it, I wouldn't have done any of them at that point. So anyway, otherwise I thought this movie was fantastic. What is something new you learned about this person? I guess I just didn't realize how layered his surrounding people were to enable him to repeatedly and throughout multiple decades harass people with such extent, so going so far as to assault and rape people. Like, I knew he was doing that, and I guess in my mind's eye, and having read some of the articles and stuff, it always seemed like he set up a scenario wherein this was going to happen. I guess I didn't realize the network of people that he had placed around him to make sure that he was able to maintain doing such acts. So I guess that was where I learned. Did this film change my view of this person? If so, how? No. My view of Harvey Weinstein has not changed. He is somebody that I had a certain amount of reverence for. As I say, he was instrumental in a building of a brand, really, of independent filmmaking, a movement of independent filmmaking in the 90s. Something that I kind of appreciated, and as I say, I had a bit of a reverence for. However, I remember hearing like one or two stories, even from like Kevin Smith's books and stuff like that. Prior to this article coming out, where I was like, he sounds like he's kind of a horrible jerk. Where he was, Smith at one point told a story about She's All That and how he shifted, I think this is in his Tough Shit book, he shifted from being a person that he had admired at that point to being somebody that had lost the way, because he stopped caring about telling a story and granting a voice to the indie artists and caring about box office success in after She's All That hit. And just how he explained how Harvey conducted himself in that room made me just kind of look at Harvey as kind of like somebody who isn't very particularly a good person or whatever. His virtues were not in alignment, let's put it that way. And then seeing him in interviews and stuff, and just how he talked in interviews. He's on a lot of like publicity material and stuff on DVD extras for all the Miramax movies, be it Good Will Hunting or the Tarantino flicks or even Robert Rodriguez movies and stuff like that. Depending on what they are. He's on the Lord of the Rings making of featurettes because he had some involvement there. And just seeing how he talked and like his bravado and stuff like that, that seemed both earned and unearned in the same breadth, struck me. What this film does is reshape all of his actions and the desperation that he tried to maintain his control over the situation where he could continue. What are you doing, cat? Sorry, my cat's going crazy. Maintain his like monstrous desires, and that the reframing of him through those specific means, I think, are done excessively well, or especially well. So, all right. Nothing I would like to add. Excellent movie, go see it. One of the reasons that prompted me to rush out, I was going to hold off and see this in a week or two's time, was that apparently Harvey Weinstein saw that this movie's box office was not so hot and was gloating about how this movie isn't doing well. And that made me want to go to the theater and buy every ticket I could. And so I went to the theater paying as much as I possibly could for this film, and I urge you to as well. My theater was I was pleased to see it was populated pretty well, so hopefully word of mouth is spreading and this will get seen. That said, I don't know what Universal was thinking. This movie should have rolled out slowly. This should have opened up in like New York and LA after doing presumably well in those two markets, open up in like Chicago, Houston, and Minneapolis or something like that, and then open small until it did a wide release like 3 to 6 weeks down the line. The fact that it just opened wide and shot its load immediately, I think is going to be kind of harmful come Oscar season, and I hope this movie is remembered, and it should be. And I think it will, certainly for screenplay, and I would like to thank the two lead actresses. But we'll see, time will tell. Let me know what you think of this movie in the comments down below, and a taste for next week, Challenge 48, a film set in a country I want to visit. Interesting. I think I got just the movie for that. Let me know what you thought of She Said down below, like, subscribe, do all that good stuff. Peace.